We are coming your way with another exciting episode of what we've been discussing this week. We are still on competence as an important requirement. Setup because I just noticed that my mouse wasn't working, so it's currently on charge. So basically, given the fact that we're going to be doing this every single day, I mean, there could be hitches here and there, but the fact is that we are very resilient and we're going to be coming your way every single day, no matter what, whether we have a technical hitch or something is not working. We'll make sure that we still come your way, and we're going to make it as flexible as it's supposed to, right? So there's not anything that is so exceptional. It's not anything that is so tense. It's just the fact that now we are putting ourselves out there, and we are live every single day, right on your timeline. So basically, that's what it is. So today we're going to be looking at another important template, and today is basically about employee performance appraisal, right? But before I even get started, I just want to thank everybody who will be showing up, those who will be making time to engage with our content. Like yesterday, I saw that there was a little bit of engagement from some of my colleagues, and that is very, very good to see. So thank you all for engaging my content. We are doing things differently, and I believe that's pretty much the way to go now. So we just have to make sure that we are reaching out to you guys and sharing our perspective about health and safety, sharing all the skills that we have, the knowledge that we have. Is basically the fact that we need to share with the wider audience. So that's exactly what we are doing. And if you have any perception or you have any opinion about some of the submissions that we make, you can always share your comments or share your feedback in the comment section, and I'm going to look at them and acknowledge them as well. All right, so we are all sharing our knowledge, we are sharing our perspective of things, right? So today we are looking at employee performance appraisal, and that is very, very important because it is part of process improvement. The fact that you carry out training and you are trying to make sure that workers are competent, you need to have a system of evaluating their competence. And one of the ways of doing that is actually employee performance appraisal. So that is also helping us to meet the requirements of the ISO standard as far as competence is concerned. And competence, you can actually find that in clause 7.2. So this whole week we've been talking about, basically all the records that we can use to demonstrate competence. And as we've mentioned over the past few days, we've been talking about the fact that the standard requires that we need to identify the necessary competence of workers that affect the OHS performance, environmental performance, quality management system. And before we can actually identify the competency, we need to actually do what we call a training need assessment, right? So when you do a training need assessment based on job description, based on basically what is required for a worker to be able to perform their role effectively, and you are doing that based on the job position, you've identified, you've reviewed the job description, you know what is a significant risk to the job, and for that reason workers must be trained on it. The fact that workers are performing a very critical role, and for quality standard they're supposed to produce intended results. For that reason, competence is very important. So workers are being recruited on the basis of education, training, and experience. And once they come on board, we already know all the training programs that they're supposed to take, right? So if you've identified a competence like a training need, you need to come out with a training program. And the training program, basically, you want to make sure that the program is fit for purpose and is able to make sure the worker is competent once the worker has been trained on this program. So we've already talked about the essence of a training program, and we've also talked about the training plan, that once you come out a training program, you need to develop a training plan, and that is how you demonstrate your commitment to train workers. All right, so once you have a training plan, then you're supposed to maintain the competence of the workers by using a training matrix. So yesterday, 2 days ago, we looked at the training matrix, and then we talked about the fact that you need to demonstrate the effectiveness of the actions that you're taking. So if you're carrying out training, you need to do an evaluation of the training as a process, and that will help to improve training as a process. So we looked at the fact that you need to do training evaluation, and yesterday we looked at one of our templates, and also we looked at how to collate, a lot of training evaluation has been done by workers, how you can actually build a database of that. And at the end of the day, you're able to estimate a score that shows that, you're actually, doing some analysis on the data that you've gathered, and you're able to use it as a way of improving. Okay, so today we are going to look at performance appraisal. All right, so that is basically the purpose of today's meeting, and I will just get right into it. But before that, I'll just share my screen again. I'll just share the presentation that I did the last time, right? So I would make sure that my screen is sharing right now. All right, so basically we are talking about training, right? So training is an important requirement of the ISO standard. Let me just confirm if my screen is showing. All right, so that is it right there. We are still looking at competence as far as the management system is concerned. And we've talked about training. That training is a very important process that we use to improve competence of workers. We've looked at the requirements of the ISO standard, both, for all the standards, basically the three main standards that we've been looking at. We've established the importance of training needs. We've also established the importance of developing a training program. We've talked about some of the records that we use to demonstrate competence. So we talked about the training plan, we talked about training matrix, we talked about the fact that a training program must consider, training assessment to make sure that workers really understand the subject that has been taught. We even talked about the fact that before you even identify a training need, you need to do a training need assessment or a skill gap assessment or analysis. We talked about the importance of, keeping records of training, whether you're using an attendance sheet or a certificate of competence, certificate of attendance, or certificate of completion, right? And then yesterday we looked at training evaluation. So as far as competence is concerned, there's another important template or another important record that we need to keep. So as far as competence is concerned, there's another important record that we need to keep, and this record is actually employee performance appraisal, right? So without wasting time, I'll just head straight onto my screen and show that as well. All right, so there we have it. That is an employee performance appraisal tool. This is very, very important in establishing competence of workers. You cannot determine the competence of a worker if you have not done an appraisal. An appraisal is done by head of department. Every head of department must do a performance appraisal on their subordinates. Okay, so this is a tool that we've developed for conducting appraisal on employee performance based on a set of key performance indicators to ascertain the technical and behavioral competence of the worker for the purpose of competence development, right? So we are still talking about competence. So I'll try to, remove my camera right here so that I could have a full screen to see what is on my monitor. Okay, so All right, so now I'm just going to be showing exactly what is in here, right? So basically, when it comes to an appraisal tool, we are looking at the fact that every job position must have a set of expectations. Those expectations, they're usually the job roles. So the job role that a person is supposed to perform would have to be evaluated, whether the person is indeed able to perform those roles. So we are looking at two main focus areas: the technical competence of the person and then the behavior of the person, right? So the technical competence is the job description, the job rules, what the person is supposed to be doing. And then the behavioral competence has to do with the behavior of the person, his punctuality to work, or his level of attendance, basically showing up, reporting to work every single day, adherence to company policies and procedures, involvement and participation in teamwork. So there are no more parameters. Now, this is just a template. So for each job position, whoever is responsible, the head of department, or usually what is done is that if you are trying to do an employer appraisal, you probably send this template to the worker to provide their list of job description or job roles, because you want to make sure that it is driven by them as well. They need to make the input. They need to tell us what are their job roles, because they have to even be aware in the first place, right? So once they are aware and they provide the job roles, then they can send that to the manager, and the manager will have a one-to-one engagement with them and ask them, or based on the manager's assessment, can basically provide some ratings. So for example, we are looking at, let's say, someone who is an inventory manager, right? Probably an inventory manager, someone who is in charge of stock. So I'll just change this to maybe stock manager, because this is just generic. It was there as HSE advisor, and that was my name right there, right? So, or that is my name right there. So I'm an HSE person. So usually for some of my templates, if I'm to provide dummy data, I just provide my name in there, right? So let's say I am a stock manager, and the role of a stock manager, these are the specific roles, the competency, the technical competence that I'm supposed to have to perform the role effectively. So basically, the roles that I have is the fact that I should have the ability to maintain adequate stock level. I should do accurate database, inventory database. I should make sure I have an accurate inventory database. I must ensure that orders are done on time. I must make sure that I'm sourcing for the best price and quality of products from suppliers. I must keep records and data on operational team. I must provide finance team with accurate billing data. I must generate billboard codes. I must monitor and report for consumption on operational tracks. So these are just, basically list of job responsibilities of the person that you're trying to appraise. So this is just a dummy data, right? So basically, the manager who is responsible, who is doing the appraisal, would have to now rate the performance. Is a person able to maintain an adequate stock level? Then you select unacceptable, needs improvement, achieve expectation, exceeded expectation, achieve excellence. So basically, once you provide these responses, you're going to be getting a score. But take note that once you provide all of these job competence requirements or the job rules that are relevant for evaluation, you have the ability to assign a weight, which means that which of them is very important, which of them is more important than the other. So you have room to assign a weighting factor to each of that. The one that is of higher importance, you assign it a much higher weighting factor, right? So at the end of the day, the weighting factor should sum up to 100%, which means that, of course, on the scale of 1 to 100, you have assigned all the weightings to all the job positions so that it does not have to be more than 100. Assuming it is more than 100, then you're going to get an error. All right, so assuming it is more than 100, you're going to get an error, and that is the error right here. Everything must be equal to 100. So the weightings or the weighting factors should not be more than 100%. If it's more than 100%, that is an error. So let's just bring it back. So all the weightings that we've applied to these job roles are summing up to 100%, which means that we are within, an acceptable range of identifying whichever role is more important than the other. So whatever is deemed as unacceptable, whichever job role or technical competence is deemed as not acceptable, you're going to provide an explanation. So what is the explanation? This guy needs knowledge on stock management. If it is needs improvement, also you need to provide a reason why he needs improvement. Does not know where to procure or where to source prices. So if it is like, for example, exceeded expectation, you don't have to provide anything here. So here, that's not sort of gray out. But if it is the fact that the person rating, the performance rating was unacceptable, you need to provide a reason. If he needs an improvement, you need to provide a reason. If the person achieved expectation, then nothing has to be provided in here because it's quite a fair performance, right? A very good performance. So let's just bring those entries back. The person needs an improvement or the performance is unacceptable. So that is basically the section on technical competence. At the end of the day, we're able to estimate a score for technical competence. All right. And then again, we are looking at behavioral competence of the person. So behavioral competence, you're looking at punctuality and attendance, adherence to company policies and procedures. You equally have room to rate the performance. So you can choose achieved excellence, unacceptable. Take note, whenever you choose unacceptable, you need to provide a response. Why do you think that punctuality and attendance is not acceptable? Provide a feedback. All right. Now take note that need improvement also you need to provide a feedback. So let's go back to achieved excellence or achieved excellence. So basically, we are also able to estimate a score right in here. So we have evaluated the employee based on the technical competence and behavioral competence. Okay. So again, we are deciding which one is most important. So we are rating technical competence at a rate of 70%, behavioral competence at the rate of 30%, because we believe that technical competence is more important than behavioral competence. So you have the room to equally change the weighting. This is another level of weighting for this score. Take note that when you do your assessment, you would be achieving a particular score over 100%, and over here to be achieving a particular score over 100%. So these scores that you are getting, we bring them here. All right. These scores, we bring them here and we apply another level of weighting to it to say that technical competence should be rated over 70% and behavioral should be rated over 30%. So the scores that you are getting, the point that you get here, the 3.6, that's what we have here, the 3.6. And then the 5.0, because the person achieved excellence. So he's getting the 4 points, right? The 5 points. We are bringing it here. And then we apply those weightings again to it. And then we determine another level of score. And this is the score we are getting overall from the appraisal. So this score that we've gotten from the appraisal, we then look at a ranking table. We can call it a ranking table. Where does 4.0 fit? 4.0 fit within this section. And what is that? Exceeded expectation. If 4.0 if this score was within any of this threshold, it's going to be any of this, right? So let's try to, let's say, reduce the score. Let's go back to unacceptable throughout. So if I go to unacceptable throughout, we get a score of 2.8. Where does 2.8 fit? It's right here. 2.8 is within this threshold. So within this threshold, the overall assessment is that this person needs an improvement, right? So let's go back to achieved excellence. So with achieved excellence, the person exceeded expectation. Again, we can even go back to, we can make this one achieved excellence all throughout. This person is a very good employee. You can see that we've scored 5.0, and that is exactly the assessment right here, the person has achieved excellence. So this is a very good template for employee performance appraisal. Now take note that these requirements, they are literally the job description of the person. Job description are based on technical requirements for the job role that the person must be able to execute, to be able to contribute meaningfully to improving quality management system, health and safety management system, environmental management system. That's pretty much it. Apart from these technical requirements, we also want the employee to be of good behavior. So the behavioral competence requirements are equally important, but we believe that the technical competence should carry a much higher weight than the behavioral, and that is the reason we have 70% as the weighting for this, 30% as the weighting for this. You have room to change it however you want it. It's all up to you. Even you have room to determine whichever weight factor you want to use, whichever level. This level, this very one, you can say this has to be 20% because this is more important to me. This has to be 20%. But take note that you cannot exceed 100. So if this one is 20%, then probably one of them should be lesser, so that we are within the 100 threshold. Because when you're doing weighting is always over 100%. It's always weighted against 100%, and you need to just make sure that you are varying the ones that are more important than the other. And when you sum everything up, you're gonna get exactly 100%. So basically, once the appraisal has been done, all the responses, take note. Oh, let me try to bring back the data because the next sheet is very, very important, right? So let me bring back the data that was there before, because we've already pre-built the template and we've put dummy data in there, which are all relevant for decision making. So if I go to the action plan, now take note that whenever you allocate unacceptable rating to the job role, you need to provide the reason why you say it is unacceptable. Now take note, when it comes to action plan, all of them are there, right? You notice that the unacceptable that we identified, they are moved here automatically. And you have already provided your explanation. So the explanation you gave here, this explanation you gave, they're already here. So who is responsible? What's the corrective action or an improvement action? The improvement action is that, okay, so if this guy does not have knowledge on stock management, the guy needs training on stock management. So we've already identified the training need based on employee appraisal. So the training need is that this guy must go through training. Who is responsible? HR. So the head of department will be communicating with the HR that my employee needs training on stock management. So to meet the requirements of the ISO standard, we've been able to use training employee performance evaluation to identify training needs based on the person's performance. Again, does not know where to source prizes. Supervisor must share prizes with the team. Who is responsible? The supervisor. Training on how to, that the person does not know how to generate codes. The person must be trained on how to generate codes, right? So the head of the department, following the evaluation, can propose, corrective actions. And this corrective action can feed into your action tracker. Some companies may have a master corrective action tracker. They can call it MCAR. I mean, most companies have various names for calling their master corrective action tracking template. This one is specific to this template. At least from the manager's level, you can have a tracking system. But maybe the safety manager, whoever is the safety manager, he is probably responsible for gathering all of these actions from various assurance activities. Now, take note, this is an assurance activity, all right? So all the assurance activities, whether workplace inspection, whether audit, whether performance appraisal, whether management review, whether, whatever form of assurance activity or monitoring activity, you can have a master action tracker where you are collating all of these actions. So if you believe that this corrective action is legitimate, you can put in your master action tracker, right? So that is basically on a higher level, but we are now focused on just employee performance appraisal. So the manager is able to recommend actions, right? Now take note that all the responses that we had over here with the appropriate scores we have an appraisal summary. So this appraisal summary actually populates automatically by default, right? So what is the score? The score is 4.0. So that's exactly what we have here. The score is 4.0. What was the overall percentage? Okay, so for here, we are not telling you the percentage, but the percentage is basically the fact that we can multiply this 8.6 by 100, right? So that's exactly what we have here. Okay, so basically we are looking at, we can multiply these scores. Basically, is this scores. This score, let me refresh the workbook. Okay, so the score that we get here, which is 3.6, that's the 3.6, and then the 5.0. So technical competence. Okay, so basically take notes. Now, it's been a while since I looked at this template, right? So basically the fact that these scores, take note that these scores that we got from the technical competence and then behavioral competence, right? We brought them here and then we assigned a weighting, another level of weighting to it. So this is the new score. This is the new score, right? So this new score is what we transfer over here. So that's 2.5, 1.5. And that's giving us, if you multiply it by 100% and all of that, we are getting this percentage. So this is the overall percentage that we are getting for the performance. Okay. Now, if I even change everything to, let's say, achieved excellence, right? Achieved excellence, we are getting 5. So let's do some quality checking, right? If I did achieve excellence, and here too is achieve excellence. If I refresh all, we are getting 100%, right? So we are getting 100%, which means that the person has done very well. So let's try to bring back the initial data that was there, just to make sure that we are being consistent with the, the data in there. So basically, this is a summary of the appraisal. The person has scored 80%. Okay. So now we have our action plan. Take note, this is feeding into a master action plan template. So this, on the manager's level, he can be tracking by himself. But the most important thing is that each of these activities, we are able to provide a dashboard, and this dashboard provides a lot of insight to the manager himself. I did an appraisal on my worker. I can see the score. And this is the essence of plan, do, check, act cycle, that every process that you carry out, you should be able to do some analysis and see a means of improving. So basically, we can see that, okay, based on the actions that we generated here, there are 3 actions. 2 are open, 1 is closed, right? So 2 are open, 1 is closed. And we are looking at technical competence, behavioral competence. So these are the scores, right? These are basically the scores. Okay, based on the summary that we have in there. And what's the overall score? The person scored 80%. So that's exactly what we have there. The person scored 80%. And these are some of the reports that we use for the dashboard. Okay, so these are the reports we use for the dashboard. All right, so that is the exciting feature of being able to do a performance appraisal and seeing the report, seeing it on a dashboard, and then that makes your work much exciting because you're excited. Wow, I can see what I just did on a dashboard, and it gives me a lot more, insight. So I like what I'm doing. Okay, now who is responsible for collating all of these appraisals? Maybe the HR manager, because if you have to do division of labor, it's not maybe safety professional has to be following up on this. HR is the process owner for training. And as a process owner, we want to make sure that you are fully accountable and responsible for everything. So we will then have to give the HR manager another template because you need to collate all the appraisals that we've been doing. All right, so I'm going to open another template, and that is it right here. So now we have the master appraisal log, because now one appraisal has been done, but it's not just going to be one appraisal. Every employee within the organization must be appraised by their heads of department. So if every head of department is submitting an appraisal report on an employee and they can even tell the score, right? Then what we need to do as a manager is that I need to now build a database of all the employees that we are appraising. So I have my database of all the workers, the employee numbers, the department, their positions, right? And then the same ranking table is here because we are trying to maintain consistency in the report that we are doing, right? So take note, the database, that's the most important. So each employee, we need to input their data here. So once we provide the employee's name, all of this will populate, because take note, we keep saying that the approved list is very important. That's where we can predefine our parameters. The parameters that we use for building a database, we want to keep it consistent. If this name, if we don't put it here so that you can select from the drop-down list, what it means is that you'll be committing typos. You probably type the name wrongly, and it's going to be wrong database all throughout, and it's going to give you wrong report. So keeping the names consistent means that you are putting them on an approved list so that you can select from a drop-down list. So the system of doing that is basically data validation. So data validation is an Excel, function that we use to control data. So everything can now be selected and is consistent. If you type anything that is not supposed to be there, it's going to give you a feedback. You cannot make this entry because this entry is not defined for this cell. So the defined entries are all here and they're all coming from here. So assuming I go all the way here to the last, take note, you can build a lot of data. So assuming I enter another person's name right here, what it means is that I can select from there. That's it right there. That's the entry I just input, right? So that's the essence of data validation. And in case you exhaust this very table, because maybe you have more than 100 workers, right? You can simply insert additional rows right in this table so that you can be able to accommodate more data. Okay, now when you are trying to do all of these things, always a password is here. So sometimes you can use a password to do all of this stuff, right? So let's go back to the database. Now, based on the information that we've gathered from the appraisal was done by the head of the department. It was done on a particular day. What was the point that was allocated? What was the total point? We are focused on the total point, right? So the total point is the score that you got in the individual appraisal. What was the score? We put a score right in there. So once we put the score in there, then it's going to provide the overall, we're going to provide the overall score. Now take note, okay, so the total points will be provided, overall score will be estimated. And now, once you provide the overall score, it's going to also determine whether it's acceptable or unacceptable. So I'll try to look for, now take note that when we are building the template, we are putting dummy data in there. It's just dummy data. Okay. Now remember that the scale of the appraisal was on a scale of 1 to 5. So if you scored 5, you're getting 100%, right? If you scored 4, you're getting 80%. Remember the other appraisal too, the score was 4 and it was 4.0 and we said the person has scored 80%. So if you score 1, it's 20%. If you score 1.5, 30. So this is actually another system that we have done for you based on some calculations, right? Because we want to make sure that it's consistent. Because the fact is that if you score 5 all throughout, you are scoring 100%, all right? So it's just a calculation. The calculation is always right in here. And then based on the score, you're going to get unacceptable, needs improvement, exceeded expectation, achieve excellence. And let's go back to the table, right? We are saying that this is the performance ranking table, right? If you score 5, you've achieved excellence. If you scored 4.0 to 4.9, it's exceeded expectation. So if I come here and I say anybody who scored 5 is achieved excellence, this section populates automatically by default. If I change this to 5, this is what happens. It's going to update automatically. If I change this also to 5, it will update automatically. If I change this to 1, it will update automatically, right? So that is basically to tell you that the database that you are building, based on the calculation that we've done for you, everything is correct. It will achieve the intended purpose. It's a reliable template, right? So once you put your database of all the appraisals that you've been doing, and take note, you can build a long continuous database for the next 5 years, 10 years, because we need to gather data over a time frame, and we know that we are improving our performance over time. But of course, for any reason, if you exhaust this, you can always insert additional rows within the table. Okay, so basically all the database that we've been building based on the various dates of appraisal, we have our dashboard. Okay, so this is also another dashboard, And this dashboard, we are looking at the trend for the appraisal. We are looking at yearly appraisal. Probably appraisal, you do it every year. There's no point having to do appraisal every quarter. Appraisal is done every year. That's basically what every company does. So last year's performance appraisal, overall score across board, we could tell that the workers were not competent. Why were they scoring 67%? There's a problem with our workers. But 2023, we were able to increase the score to 75, which means that we did probably a lot of training. Now take note that a lot of the corrective actions, you'll be building them here. All the individual corrective actions that you will be gathering, you'll be entering them here. Okay. So those corrective actions, you can then use it to justify some of these reports. If the score was maybe 75, you can say that, okay, it is because most of the workers, all the list of corrective actions that have been gathering from the individual appraisal that were submitted by the managers themselves, we noticed that most of the workers have a particular problem. So probably you are logging all of them in here. So let's just bear in mind that I have changed some of the entries here. So the information that is supposed to be transferred here by default, they are not here. So let me try and go back to how the database was earlier. That's the essence of the fact that whatever I input there for analysis, it has to be exactly what it is, right? So if I come to action plan, you see that everything is back to how it was, right? So why do we have these three actions, for example, improvement actions here? Why do we have three? Because if I come to the source data, we are saying that everything that is unacceptable and needs improvement, it has to be transferred onto this sheet. It is done automatically. If I change this to accepted, right? If this person scored 5 and you also scored 5, and if you come here, nothing is showing. This section is a manual entry. You need to delete it. This section is a manual entry, right? So assuming that I'm saying that the workers, all of them, they scored 1, all of them, they are all bogus workers. They are not serious. They are not competent. We probably even have to terminate them, but we still want to keep them. This is what happens. We have all of them here. All these people, this guy, he has problem. This Selorm guy, he has problem. Edwin Cote, he has problem. What is the problem? I need to provide those inputs. So HR manager can keep a close eye on each of these workers to ensure that their development action, we are looking at competence development based on appraisal. So the issue that was identified, we provided here, and then development action, we provided there. Who is responsible? HR is responsible. Start date, next review date, we need to follow up. What is the days due? Take note, if I provide start date, probably today is I think 14th or maybe 14th, right? 14th March is today. Next review date will be 14th April. How many days do you have more to go? We have 31 days more to go, right? How important is this action? This is a high priority action. Is it open or closed? The action is still open. So assuming I have identified all of these as actions, right? So I'll just try and extend it all the way here. And I'm saying that all of them are important. I don't have time to provide, maybe HR is responsible. Let's say HR is responsible, right? HR must do a lot of things about the workers. The action is that, let's assume all of them need training. All of them need training. I don't have time to give real data, so let's just assume need training. All right, so I just come all the way here. Let's just assume, right? Even do I have to provide issues? Maybe what's the issue found? They don't even understand anything. What's the issue? They don't know. Let's put something there. I don't have time to think of anything, so let's put something there, right? So we have some database here. We have our report here that this is the score. So if I come to the dashboard, let's see what happens. Take note that these reports are built on pivot tables. All of these are pivot tables, right? So the dashboard is based on pivot charts. So what is the current situation here? Let's refresh all. You see the current situation? Oh. All right, so basically on the dashboard, let's explain the dashboard. How many actions do we have? Okay, so we have these actions. Okay, so there's something going on. The actions are quite a lot, and it is not showing because I had to expand. Now, if I open this up, you see that it's 36 right in there, right? So it means that, and then take note, this one we are only supporting. Sometimes some of these little hitches could be there. You can equally fix it. It's not a big deal. So I'll probably just fix it because the data in there is bigger, right? It's bigger. So I'll just do it all. So what's the situation? We have 36 actions in the action plan, right? Or in the improvement plan. They're up to 36. And all of them are open. So that's exactly what we have here. 36 actions. All of them are open. Let's assume some of them have been closed. Let's assume some of them have been closed. Let's say all these have been closed. So if they have been closed, we just refresh the workbook. And there we have it. 36, 17 has been closed, 19 are open. But what is the score? The performance, we are picking it from here, right? All of them are scoring 20% on various areas, right? So let's say the technical, production, operation, HSE, HR, all of them, they have problem. All the department, these are the department. The workers in this department, they have a problem. Because now you're looking at the departmental score. Technical department, the workers there, their performance is very poor. Production, poor performance. Operations, poor performance. HSE, poor performance. But if we are able to give them, do proper training, all of them score, let's say 5, right? The appraisal this year, all of them scored 5. So let's go to the dashboard. Let's refresh all. There we have it. Now we have 100%. So what it means is that our effort in maintaining the competence of the workers through employee performance appraisal is translating into good performance. We can see that. And this is basically all of us ensuring that workers are competent and they're able to contribute meaningfully to the health and safety management system, environmental management system, quality management system, okay, or whichever management system that you subscribe to. So that's pretty much what this template is. Now take note, because we had all of them achieved, it means that there's no action plan here. So we can just get rid of this. We can get rid of this as well because there's nothing to follow up on. And if I refresh all also, there's no action. Basically, we've been able to identify, but that is the perfect case scenario. There's no way you're gonna get 100% and there's no action. Okay, so let's bring back our data because we like to always keep our database however it was before. It's very, very important. All right, so that's pretty much the data that was there earlier, right? So if you come to the dashboard, it's the same. Okay, can you tell me the status of the appraisal that you've done? HR, okay, just copy this and paste it on a Word document or a PowerPoint slide. Or if you think you want to use this also, you can always use that. Okay, so that is basically the essence of performance appraisal in maintaining competence of workers. We looked at the individual appraisal too. Okay, so let me just close this presentation. All right, so that is pretty much what appraisal is all about. We've looked at the importance of appraisal in maintaining competence of workers as part of the requirements of the ISO standard that we need to implement actions to maintain the competence of workers. One of the action is training. One of the action is employee performance appraisal. All right, And basically, we can even evaluate this as an independent assurance activity by doing an audit on it, because auditing itself is how we improve processes. So you can even do an audit on employee performance appraisal. You find out, HR, have you been doing employee performance appraisal? So this one can actually be part of our internal audit within the year, that we want to check all the processes in our organization to make sure that they are functioning accordingly as expected, because they are all important in ensuring that we are improving our performance, OHS performance, environmental performance, quality management system, all of this stuff. Okay, so thank you all for attention. I believe that you find this presentation meaningful. Now, this is just to share knowledge with you guys. It is not about the fact that I'm trying to let you know the template that I have. These are templates I developed myself. So basically, I'm contributing to knowledge, right? Adding to knowledge. If you find it very insightful and interesting, you can always visit our website and you can download it, or you can develop your own templates based on some of these insights. I perform customization services, support OHS professionals, and you can always get in touch with me, book a meeting with me, and we can look at the template that you have, how we can improve it, how we can make it more insightful with dashboard and everything. All right, so as you can see, it's not only about numbers. We don't do numbers. We actually look at the processes and how you can actually streamline it and bring a little bit of life to it to ensure that you're able to do some analysis, because each process provides opportunity to analyze. And if you're using just a form and a checklist that you don't even have an insight how that contributes to improvement, because there's no insight to it. It's just a checklist. For example, a lot of people have just performance appraisal form. They just take and give a score, but they don't even have a system of really building a database, having a proper insight based on a dashboard. So that is the advantage our templates offer you. They're going to have a lot of amazing dashboard for almost every process in the management system. Our templates are currently up to a total of 92. The list is not exhaustive. We can actually keep adding on. We have a lot that are work in progress, which we'll be adding. And we have a membership system. You can purchase our full package and you'll be part of our membership, in the sense that every time we come up with a new update, you can always get it for free. And since 2017, when we started, we had only 16 templates. Some people purchased everything. They were part of the membership. Today, they come to our site and they download 92. So you can imagine how exciting it is to come back a few years later to see 92 templates, and we tell you you are entitled to it absolutely for free, because you trusted our competence, the value that we're bringing and everything, and gave us a chance. And so you bought our full package. And then by virtue of that, we are very appreciative, and for that reason we have a long-term relationship with you, that we're going to give you every new template absolutely for free, because you trust our work and you're giving us a chance. Okay, so thank you all for your attention, all those who passed through, all those who showed up. God richly bless you. Today is Friday and we are doing this only Monday to Friday. Okay, so we're gonna meet again next week, Monday. All right, we're gonna look at a lot of insightful templates, and that can help you to make informed decision. It helps you in your HSE communication with your stakeholders, so that exactly what you're doing, you're able to report, and you are going to look very professional to your stakeholders, your management. They see what you're doing, they like the dashboard, and then that's going to make your work much easier. Okay, so all the best, take care and stay safe. See you again in another video. Bye for now. Cheers.